Welcome, everybody, to the Books by Adrian podcast. I'm your host, Adrian Santiago, and with me today is Regina Grimm. She was our guest this Sunday on Livestream Sunday, this past Sunday on the 10th, right? On the 10th. And this episode is available across Apple Podcasts, Spotify, pretty much anywhere else you get podcasts, and the video version, which you guys are probably watching, is here on YouTube every Thursday at 11 a.m. And I'm always in the chat for the live premiere. So everybody check it out. And that's about all I got for the business. Miss Regina Grimm, why don't you say hello to the guests again and remind everybody who you are, where you're from, and what you got going on.
Hello, everybody. My name is Regina Grimm. I am an erotic fairy tale author. I am from Canada, and I'm just about to publish my fourth book, the final chapter in the Snow White series. So an erotic retelling of the classic Grimm brothers fairy tale of Snow White. That's it.
You know, you tell us that you're from Canada, and you follow it up by using the word about. And
do you hear it?
It seems redundant. You didn't have to tell us you were from Canada. We knew.
See, it's funny because I don't hear it, but I know I have had it commented upon.
Dude, I lived half of my life, the better part of my childhood in Buffalo, New York. So not New York City, but New York State, and that very like northern New York City kind of vibe and way of speaking. And then from like 13 on, I've been down in Florida in the South, and then I've bounced back and forth. But for years and years straight down here in Florida in the South. And so now when I visit up north, they tell me I sound like a Southerner. And now when I'm down here, people tell me, oh, I can hear your New York accent. And I'm just, I don't hear any of it. I don't know what any of you are talking about. How did it go for you today on live stream Sunday? What did are you more relaxed now? You feel better? I know you were a little nervous at first.
I was totally nervous, and that was fantastic. You were
fun,
a fantastic host. Oh no, it was
Oh,
wonderful. I love getting questions from people. It was just a great time. What a fantastic community you've built. It's very cool.
I mean, I've sort of like jumped into the community that already existed here on YouTube, but yes, I keep trying, or I am trying to grow my own, so to speak. I've launched a new website and everything, and geared towards the actual community aspect of it, and yeah, looking to build like my own little pocket of this author tube universe to do with it what I will. I have ideas. Yeah, man, the episode was fun. The live chat, it always brings it. The questions from them, they ask some good questions.
Yeah.
They hit you with a really good one today. I can't remember what it was, but they hit you with a really good one. There were some good questions in the chat today.
Well, the one question that was like, are you planning on doing any of these specific topics? I was like,
yeah, and then she had an idea for each one. I'm like,
so write them and just share them with me, because that sounds wonderful. Yeah. I'm so excited for you.
She has a wonderful idea, and she should totally run with it.
Yeah,
she should stop giving away her great ideas.
Now, if she's a reader who is looking to read a thing, I think that's how you become a writer, when you're looking for a book to read that doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's what I keep telling people. I regurgitate that quote all the time. If there's a book that you want to read and it doesn't exist, that means you have to write it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you get to read it as you're writing it. Like you're discovering it just as much as anybody else.
Absolutely. And then that's my editing process. Once I finish writing it, then I read it out loud. Yeah. And oh geez, that's the first time. It's like hearing the story for the first time again, because I'm like, who wrote this shit?
Yeah.
Why does it sound this way?
Whenever I edit, I always try to change the font of the document and then read it out loud, so that everything, so that way you not only have new ears on it, but fresh eyes as well.
That's clever.
I stole that from somebody else who I can't even remember at this point. Every good idea I have comes from somewhere else. But yes, that's what I started doing, and it helps a lot, because things just jump out at you where you're like, whoa, or like, oh, I've used this word like 7 times in the last 3 paragraphs. That's probably not good. I should probably find another word for this.
Oh geez, the repetitive work, because you get your favorites, and they're really like the
Those round
icy.
chocolatey words that just,
Yeah. I have like everything everyone does. There's that little collection of ones that you just use
Yeah.
and then use and then use and then all of a sudden I'm like, what? I've literally said the same word 3 times in this sentence. It needs to go.
And after becoming a writer, I've started to spot them in other people's work.
Yeah.
There's this interesting thing that happens to me where when I fall in love with a movie or a TV show, I rewatch the hell out of it. And the biggest one for me is always Breaking Bad. I rewatch it over. I don't stop rewatching Breaking Bad. I'm watching new shows, but I never stop rewatching Breaking Bad. I'm in a perpetual state of rewatching that show. I want to learn everything that it has to teach me because it's a masterpiece. I don't think that anything else on TV can touch it. I know that there's great works out there. Everybody, don't chew me out in the comments, please. I'm just saying, for me, it's the pinnacle of storytelling, and so I'm trying to learn everything I can from it. And I forgot where I was going with this train of thought. What were we talking about? I already forgot.
It's like we're talking about the pinnacle of things, rewatching things, and learning. Oh, learning because hearing the words over and over.
Exactly. And so, one of the things that I find in that show is the word exactly. Like almost every episode, one character at least says, what does that mean exactly? Or what are you saying exactly? Like, there's always like an exactly there. And I'm like, oh, I know who wrote this episode. Like as soon as you hear it, you're like, this is so-and-so's favorite word. I know exactly who's writing this episode. He wrote the one like 5 episodes ago. I caught that one too. So that's where I was going with that. Those words that just kind of jump out at you where you're like, oh, I must really like this word. Do you struggle with writer's block? And if so, how do you fight it?
Oh, okay. Now, writer's block, I think that's a loaded topic for authors. I know this is nothing
because
new to
some
anyone.
don't even believe it exists, like me. I think it's all in your head.
I also believe that. I believe that. I think it's one of those ones where if I couldn't write and said I have writer's block, and somebody came through the door and put a gun to my head and said, you write a sentence right now or you die, or threatened someone I loved or offered to pay me $1 million, I could write. I know I could write. What I find is I'm a procrastinator. I have yet to find the rhythm of like that perpetual writing. I know, right? I feel like we should just have a little support group.
To the choir. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, and so it's not
Procrastinators Anonymous.
Oh, so bad. So if I sit down in front of a blank piece of paper, when people talk about writer's block, what I think the experience is this: I have 2 hours and I'm sitting here in front of them and nothing's coming out. I never
have no ideas. I have no ideas.
Yeah, none of that happens for me. Now, what does happen is, I haven't sat down for 5 days. I have not picked up a pen in 2 weeks. I like those chunks of time that just go because I've been working too hard. I'm not feeling well. My life has happened. Like just all of those other things become more important. And so I don't prioritize writing. So then I will not write for weeks at a time. And that makes me very sad because it's so important for me to be writing. The days I write are better than the days I don't. So I don't know if that's an answer. I don't really believe in writer's block. But I do believe that it's a complicated process. And sometimes there's all of these little fears and gremlins that get in your way that what I'm about to write is terrible. So write something terrible.
Yeah.
Or nobody's going to like it. Nobody needs to like it. Just write it anyway.
Nobody needs to ever see it.
Oh God. Write anything. Write your name 73 times on a piece of paper and eventually you'll get bored and write something else. Like I think the problem is that we believe it should look a certain way, or that for us to be successfully writing, it has to, I have to plug in my phone. Sorry.
Uh-oh.
Apparently this is not plugged into anything. Oh, please stand by.
You go ahead. I'll vamp. I feel the same way, really. The thing about writer's block for me is that I feel the need to power through it. To simply sit down and put one word in front of the other, even if it's I don't know what I'm writing about. I have no ideas. I have nothing going on. Why can't I write? And I'm just typing it in there until eventually a thought occurs, you know. Hi.
Apologies, I'm back now.
No problem. I vamped while you were gone.
Oh, good.
Okay. So then what about imposter syndrome? Do you ever suffer from that? From yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, so much. I think imposter syndrome is one of those ones where we need to talk about it because it's so huge. And I don't know that everybody experiences it, and I don't know that it's the same for everybody. But every single successful person I've spoken to in any field, they always have some version of imposter syndrome that spirals in their heads. And this may be more because I talk to my day job is primarily women, so we talk a lot more about it. Plus, I'm involved in women's groups and things like that.
Cool.
So I don't know if it's more common in women than men, but it does seem to be insanely common with the people I talk to. So yes, the writer's piece. The way I experience imposter syndrome is something seems amazing until I do it. And then it can't be that amazing because I did it. So when people talk to me and they're like, oh, what have you been up to? And I published 4 books this year. And they're like, what? But then I sit down, but I'm like, yeah, well, but I just self-published them. And oh, well, they're just erotic fairy tales.
Yeah,
and
you yourself bring your thing down. You don't even give it a chance to succeed with new people. Yeah,
right?
I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
And there's a piece of it that feels like humility and something that is good and proper and that we shouldn't be overly proud. But I think the reality is it's just damaging and gross. That we should really lean into how amazing we are and celebrate what's going on instead of trying to downplay it like it's a nothing.
Amen to that. See, I feel about imposter syndrome much the same way as I feel about writer's block, which while you were away, I was telling them that when it's that writer's block where you're just trying to sit down and you're just trying to write something and you don't know what and you have no ideas and you feel like it's writer's block because you can't get anything down. That's the kind of writer's block where it's literally just about put one word in front of the other, even if it's complete and utter nonsense, until something, like you said, comes about that is not nonsense. Because what I do is I set a timer for 45 minutes because apparently 40 minutes is the sweet spot. So I set a timer for 45 and I just start writing nonsense. Even if it's I don't know what to write right now, I'm just typing nonsense, blah, blah, blah. And it just keeps going because I have to not stop typing until that timer goes off. And in the meantime, I might find some ideas along the way. And when the timer goes off, if I'm still feeling writer's blocky, then maybe it's time to set it aside and do something else. The other kind of writer's block is the one people talk about when they're writing a novel and they're like, I don't know what to write next or whatever. And I'm like, where's your outline, dude? Like, yeah. And if you don't have one, then that's what you should be doing now that you have this writer's block. Do your outline. Use this time where you can't write chapters to go and structure your novel and write an outline so that next time you hit that wall, you can just look at your outline and you know exactly what you're supposed to write next. In a situation like that where you're prepared to have, you have a fallback, you have an outline. In that scenario, writer's block is not a huge deal. Imposter syndrome, I feel, is almost like a misread of something else that we all experience. Like we're all getting it wrong. We're like, when I think of imposter syndrome, what I interpret it as is that old adage of that every author tells you, every accomplished author tells you, steal from everybody. They all say it. They all are like, dude, you're a first-time author, steal from everybody. You like what Neil Gaiman's doing? Try to write like Neil Gaiman. You like what George Martin is doing? Try to write like George Martin. Because by trying to emulate the greats, you're going to learn things about how they do it. You're going to look at the two. You're going to see mine is not quite as good. Why? What's the difference? You're going to find ways to bridge that gap. Then you're going to take influences from other people that you've been reading along the way. And along the lines, you will develop your own style, whatever that may be. But that's what imposter syndrome is. It's not knowing that you're supposed to. You're supposed to be an imposter. You're supposed to steal from everybody until you have found your own voice and your own And then before you know it, people are stealing from you.
Yeah.
It's going to be fine. Everybody's going to be fine.
Take that as a compliment. Yeah.
That's how I look at it. You got to go zen. You got to go zen. You got to go zen with it.
Just keep swimming, man. Yeah, it's absolutely true. Yeah.
Do you have plans to adapt your books into any other mediums? These are all questions I wanted to ask you in the interview and we didn't get to them.
That is true. I would love to, I've been planning to read them out loud, which sounds ridiculous, but like record audio, what do you call it? Like an author? Author readings. Yes. Yeah. I don't know that I can do an author reading. I do a lot of like voice work for work. Like I create a lot of videos and content like that. But I don't know if I can read.
If you do that, then you can probably do that. Yeah, I think that you can. Because
my only concern is just, will I blush through the whole thing? Which seems ridiculous, but I am incredibly shy by nature.
You could always hire somebody to do it if you're that uncomfortable with it. But yeah, a lot of authors are doing it. It's a whole other like revenue stream. I mean, yeah, I say go for it. At least give it a try. And if you don't like the outcome, then hire somebody out.
I think that's really the big piece, right? We keep coming back to that of like, you got to give it a shot.
Yeah, just try it out. Yeah, what's the worst that could happen? You won't like it. You don't show it to anybody.
That's right.
Who died?
Nope, nobody will die from what I do.
Nobody's going to die.
Not that important.
Just do your thing. Yeah, man. And I was for the longest time a big procrastinator. And before this novel that I'm writing, this, I finished my first draft recently, and it was such like a cathartic moment because I've never actually finished anything before, and yes, I still have a lot of editing and rewriting to do, but I finished the story. I know how it ends. It's a nice, big, juicy novel. Yes. And so I'm excited about it. It's I'm proud of it. It's a complete mess. I have so much work to do, but it's there. The story's there. And so before working on this novel, I was working on a graphic novel with a group of friends. We created like a little writer's room, and we just created this incredible, fantasy story that we wanted to tell as a graphic novel. And we agreed when we first came together for this project that we want to create a thing that belongs on the shelf next to the greatest graphic novels of all time, next to Sandman, next to Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen. If a comic geek will not put our book on the shelf next to those titans, then there's no reason to do it. And so from the very beginning, we had this incredible goal in mind, and we've created a world and a story worthy of that. And then it fell to me to write the scripts for the comic. And I had never written anything before. This was the first thing I had ever done. And I'm trying to write these scripts for a comic book, which, by the way, there's no like rules to how to write a script to comic books. Like everybody you ask tells you a completely different way to do it. It's always unique to whatever the partnership between the author and there's a whole other world of things to learn over there that isn't even revolving around how to tell a story. I still had to learn how to tell a story. And so even though we had this incredible idea, every script I was churning out was just garbage. I hated every single one. And I worked on them for years, literally for years, just stuck in this like endless, like, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. And so finally I set it aside. And I said, I need to do something on my own that's going to teach me how to be a writer. I'm going to learn how to do it. I'm going to finish it. I'm going to put it out by myself. It's going to be only my name on it because there's 4 other dudes with their name on this other thing. It's not just my butt on the line if I screw up. So I want to do something on my own. If it fails, that's cool. It was just on me. If it succeeds, that's cool. I did it by myself. Just try it, man. Just go for it. We're back to just freaking go for it. So it comes down.
That's amazing.
What's your editing process like, and how did you find your editors, if you have any?
I have a wonderful editor who I really appreciate. She is the second editor I've worked with. The first one was fantastic, but frankly not brutal or careful enough. And why I needed her, the first editor I had,
You needed somebody to take the gloves off and just get in there.
I did, which I know that now. In the moment, though, she didn't give me what I needed to be good, but she gave me what I needed to keep going, which was a lot of encouragement and the kind of the soft fluffies, which again didn't make my first book better, but it got me to continue instead of just being like, no, I can't do this. Everybody hates it. It's a piece of shit. I'm going to throw it in the garbage.
It was early enough in your career that you probably needed somebody to kind of like woo you in and like calm you down, settle you in, so that somebody else could come in with that pitchfork and start chipping away. Right?
Yes, the second editor is a little more blunt, I think I'll say.
Good,
so I appreciate her for that, and she's very good at picking out the repetitiveness of things. She has no qualms about being like, yeah, this sex scene is lame, you better rewrite it. And it's like, okay,
nice.
Trust her a lot. So she's usually, my editing process seems to be like, write the whole thing, write first. I don't believe in editing as you go, because I think for me, it is the absolute best way to keep me in not moving forward. I have to write the whole thing down, even if it's terrible, even if there's chunks of it that are like, I have, to keep myself from getting stuck, I have done things like insert this scene here and just keep going.
Yeah.
I know the scene has to happen. I don't know how to write it, so I'm just going to keep moving on. Right? And you have to like in bold or highlighted or something, so you know when you're reading through it, you're like, oh crap, I forgot to write that scene.
Yeah.
And then go back through and read it, and then read it out loud, and then read it out loud again until I can stand to listen to it. That's how I edit, and then I hand it to my editor.
Whenever it does come time for me to ship it off to an editor, I want to find a nice brutal one like that, because I love getting my stuff back covered in red. I don't know if I'm a masochist or what, but it's like crack to me. I see all that red and I'm like, I'm gonna make my story so much better. You know what I mean? Like, that's how you have to look at it. That's how I think about it. Is I don't take it personally, because I'm trying to make a thing here, you know, and I'm coming to a person who's going to help me make that thing, and I'm going to pay that person. So I expect them to help me make the thing. You know what I mean? Like, I want it.
It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, tear it apart, man. Like, I really want you to tear this thing apart. Like, show me all of the flaws so that I can then choose whether or not to fix them. That's the other thing that people forget about, is that when you get the edit back from your editor, you can also make changes along the way too. Like, you're not, nobody's cracking a whip on you. Like, relax.
They're not your boss.
Go with the editor. Go with the editor.
Oh, for sure.
On the editing process.
No, and I think that's something in hindsight, like the breakneck speed that I have been on, editing has probably been what's taken the biggest hit. So in hindsight, giving myself an extra month per book would have probably made for even better books. Now, having said that, there's been a lot of, I feel like, you know, it's that balance, because I could edit it forever and it would still never be perfect, or I can get it out there and I'm telling the story. And that's the story that was the reason I wanted to do it. I wasn't looking to write a great epic living thing that would, enthrall and entertain people for generations. I had a sexy story I wanted to tell, and I wanted to share it with people who love sexy stories. So I don't know if that's like a sliver of the, a little too, maybe, there's humility in there that I'm kind of like, but no, I think what do they call it? Paralysis by analysis, and that demand to be perfect if that's what's keeping you from moving forward, it's time to set that aside and accept the fact that, what was I reading the other day? Like I don't remember. I was reading some book, like one of those books that people read and they talk about with other people, and it's an actual important book that everyone's read. 3 errors in 2 paragraphs. And I was like, you're traditionally published, very famous book that I cannot think of, and there's all of these errors in it. And it's like, the reality is, it doesn't matter. I found one in Harry Potter. It's never going to be perfect.
Yeah.
So at what point are you comfortable releasing that baby bird into the world, knowing that it's an imperfect, flawed masterpiece?
I always have a perfect example that encapsulates this point that you're making, and it brings it back to Neil Gaiman's American Gods. It's my favorite book most of the time. Sometimes it's others, but most of the time, American Gods is my favorite book. And I have this copy. It's a hardcover. It's like a 5th edition or something crazy. It's way down the line, right? Like they have like the whole thing embossed on the front with like silver. The pages are thin, almost sheer, like a Bible, like Bible pages. It's beautiful. The edges of the pages is all like a bright, shiny silver. It's a gorgeous book. They have edited this thing over and over and over again every time that they re-release it into the world. And I find typos in that book.
Yeah.
By one of the greatest authors of our time, with the money and access to the greatest editors of our time.
Yes.
And there are mistakes, there are typos that a nincompoop like me can find in that book. So it just... everybody relax. The typos will be there. It's fine. It's going to be fine. And every time that you re-release that book, you can edit it again and find some new ones and fix it that way. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
The other thing that I learned in writing this novel was, and this comes back to that whole like different versions of writer's block. People like thinking that they have writer's block and really you're just like stuck in a weird pocket.
Mm-hmm.
I had a character that was living, as the kids say, rent free in my head for years. And I kept trying to put her into different things. I was once writing like this short story that was going to be like this Western. And I thought, oh, this is it. This is the spot for this character that I've created, and I stick her in that story, and nope, she doesn't. This story is nothing. It doesn't feel like no, this isn't it. And I've tried that with so many different stories along the way, until one day I was writing the short story that eventually became the prologue of this novel. I'm writing that short story, and it's by a new character's point of view, and they end up at the home of this other character that I've been trying to put. She was like, they opened the door and there she was. And I was like, oh, look at that. That's where she goes. There she is. Totally. Yep. Yeah. That's where she's always like, and it felt like such a like crystallizing moment where you're like, oh, all those times where I didn't know what I was doing, where I didn't know where to put her, how to write her. She never felt right, even though I thought I had this great idea for an incredible character. It's not writer's block. It's not right. Like, you just got to move it over to this other story. You got to think of a new, kind of twist on it, or it's just us. And she's different. She has characteristics that now fit this new world, but it's her. It's the character that I always wanted to write, and it's the one that most people point to as their favorite. My friend Colin Clark, another author on this channel, like loves telling people that he's in love with her, and I'm like, okay.
That's fantastic.
I made her up, but okay.
It's like, so you guys have to go on a date now? I
don't know. It's weird. I really need to have a conversation with him, especially because it's author to author. Like, he's so in love with my character. I'm like, all right, well, maybe we should have dinner, man. Like, buy me a glass of wine. Let's see where this goes.
I love it. That's fantastic.
Was there anything else that you definitely wanted to cover that you haven't, that we've missed? Anything you can think of? I just want to make sure that you have your chance, your time.
Well, honestly, no. It was such a fantastic time, fantastic things to chat about, and really feel like we covered lots of stuff. I don't know. It's kind of like.
The time goes by so fast, but we really do get through a lot, because we just keep the kind of questions coming, you keep the conversation moving. Before you know it, it's been an hour. It's bananas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think we're going to cut the podcast short today. I think this was a nice, short and sweet one. This has been a total blast and a complete pleasure. Thank you so much for being on the channel. For everybody watching at home, Miss Grimm's information is all in the downstairs. It's all the information is downstairs. Just click on it, go over, buy her books, check out her sample chapters first if you want to. They're on Goodreads, and support her upcoming release on the 26th.
26th.
The 26th. Very nice. Snow White and the Poison Apple, I believe.
That's right. Chapter 4, the final chapter.
It's all going down.
It.
This is it. It's over. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for coming. For everybody at home, if you want to be a guest either on this podcast or on the live stream Sunday platform or both, go over to my link tree. The link will be downstairs, and from there you can go to the application, fill out the application, send it in, and I will get back to you. I am in the throes of scheduling season 4 of Livestream Sunday and the in-between season, which will mostly be this podcast. So catch you guys on that end of things. Leave a like and a comment and subscribe and all that good stuff. Miss Grimm, any parting words for the folks at home?
Just thank you so much for having me, Adrian. This was such a blast. And, for all of my fellow aspiring authors out there, just keep going. Don't stop. That's
One word in front of the other, man.
That's all it takes.
Occasionally throw a period in there and then do another word in front of the other. Yeah, maybe if you want to get fancy, throw a comma. Yeah. But one word in front of the other.
That's all it takes. Yeah, for sure.
All right, y'all. Right on. Adrian out.